Yep, little bit of truth there. Boom, bada bing. Wonderful to be here. This is SBG News and Views with your host, Louis Herms, and your co host, Robert Imbriali. Today, we are going to have some fun. We got a lot on the plate, so we're going to get into it really quick. I just want to say, guys, rememberyouroath.com is looking like it's getting a lot of action now, so I'm very excited about that. Guys, this is a way to take your country back. So make sure somehow today you go to rememberyouroath.com. Every week we're doing updates. We just did some updates now. A couple days are going to be some new updates. I'm trying to work on a new video for that, and I believe, folks, that we've got this. Now, that being said, take a deep breath because I have all indication from many conversations I'm having that what's going to hit the fan pretty soon. So just be really, really, really prepared, please. And stay in prayer, get to know your neighbors, right? And just make sure that you've have your head in the right place, because it probably will get worse before it gets better. And everybody knows I don't do fear porn, but the more the deep state is exposed, the more craziness you're going to see, because they need to divert the attention from what's really going on. We'll talk about that a little bit today. It's pretty darn obvious. So we're going to get into it for sure. Let me just remind you to visit screwbiggov.com, and you'll gain access to all we have to offer, right? And this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful website. I'm very, very proud of that. Lisa put it together. You can get to remember your oath from there in case you forget. Freedom in Action is a great portal with amazing information and websites to how you can fight back. Documentary cages are there. Another 20-some films are there, and interviews that I do, and of course swag. And we're going to be adding to the swag this week. You guys are going to love it. It's pretty cool. All right. And in addition to that, make sure you go to Renegade Media. Is it renegademedia.com? I always forget, Robert, because I never write it down, and I apologize.
RenegadeMedia.tv, Lewis.
.tv Lewis. Okay, go to renegademedia.tv Lewis. No, go to renegademedia.tv, because Robert posts all video clips on there. No, on his Telegram.
On the Telegram, right?
All the video clips, and even ones that we don't use here. So you have to subscribe to Renegade Media on Telegram, and then make sure you check out its site, which is renegademedia.tv as well. Now, while you're here and we're talking about this, guys, please like, subscribe, and make sure you share this all over the place, because even on Rumble, sorry to say, we do fight against the algorithms. What say you, Robert?
So good to see you, Lewis. You're in good shape. You're in good form today. Looking forward to spreading more valuable truth with all our beautiful, beautiful friends and followers and fellow patriots who can't get enough of us, it seems, judging by some of the emails and the messages we get. Guys, we really appreciate that. And you know, the criticisms too. The people who are like, why are you doing it this way? And it really helps us make the show better. So all comments are welcome.
Yeah, it does. It does. And we do accept the criticism. Just don't be stupid. You know, if you're being an asshole, we're gonna pass on you. But if you have some real constructive criticism, let us know, because we're always trying to fine tune this. Now, in regards to that, we hear that some people are saying that there's sound issues, but 95% are saying it's perfect, which means it's your system. It's not our system. That's the challenge. So just so you know, don't send anything over about sound issues, because there is really no sound issues. The sound is on. The sound's on point. The lips are timed to the audio. So if you're having an issue, it's something with your feed or your internet connection itself, is what we're finding out.
Now, I'll also add that the app on mobile is a poor way to watch these videos. Unfortunately, the app is so many Rumble videos I'll watch, all of a sudden they'll stop for no reason. Right? And you can't get it back. You got to shut the app down, start it. And it's like, why would it do that? It just makes no sense that it would do that. But I'm on iOS, and sometimes that app just isn't. It needs a little work. It needs a little spit and polish, I think, is what I should say.
Yeah, I'm still seeing that issue, even on BitChute. If I'm using BitChute, not the app on my phone, same issue happens. So they got to figure this stuff out. They don't have the cabal money like YouTube has to get it right. And YouTube does a phenomenal job, but you just can't hang out there very long. I'm actually surprised the Am I the Only One video is still up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's getting major traction too, guys, which is cool, but we'll see how long that lasts. I try to make it where it would stay up, but we'll see. Before I forget, I need to make a special thank you to all the people that volunteer and work with us. Lisa Richards does a phenomenal job. We have Master Baggy, which is Eric and Denise and Ronnie and Lachelle, and I know Buckshot tries to help us out, and other people inside the chat also. We have a ton of admins that are doing great work for us, so we appreciate all you. Now, in regards to the chat, guys, this chat is not a place to bitch or complain about anybody in there. And whether you're complaining about a troll or not, let's keep it a productive chat. If that's what the chat's going to become, we're going to shut the chat down, just so you know. We want the chat to be a chat where people can engage in a happy, great manner, and maybe even talk about content that we have on the show. If it becomes an attack session on trolls and this and that, it really just becomes useless. So guys, just so you know, just take a deep breath if you don't like something somebody says in there. But when you start going off, and I know a lot of you feel like you're defending me, Robert, of the show, and I understand that, but it definitely becomes a distraction for people in the chat. So let's try to refrain from that and make it a chat where people can just have such a phenomenal good time in there. So I wanted to make sure we did a little housekeeping in regards to that. First up, well, it looks like the U.S. House of Representatives voted to shelve the Mayorkas impeachment. And what that really means is MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, wanted to put this guy up for impeachment. And if I'm correct, the Democrats, and I think it was 8 Republicans, voted to just shelve it, say, we don't want to deal with this right now. So they just kicked the can down the road. But even more importantly, I noticed there was almost 20 Republicans, I believe, it could have been less, that just didn't vote at all on this. It's all very weird going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on. What do you think about this, Robert?
I look at his name. I'm going to put it back up for a minute here. Just look at the way it's spelled. I call him Mayor Cass.
Mayor Cass.
Mayor Cass. There you go, Mayor Cass.
So true.
All right. Look all the way back, and there was more than just a little, like a mobile, at a gas station, little shop like that. It looked a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah. So here's what I noticed. It's very interesting. Number one, it wasn't all black people, so people just need to get off of that. I counted 4 different colors in there, right? So, and if it is, it doesn't really matter. It has to do with part of there's a CIA rap culture. People really should go study that. As long as you keep blaming people for their color, you may want to go and find out how the CIA actually intentionally indoctrinated people of color in order to act a certain way. So it goes a lot deeper than you think it is. In regards to that, which I find very interesting, they look very comfortable in stealing things, but when they're exiting out the door, suddenly they're not comfortable anymore and they're dropping everything. It's like, if you're going to do it right, take a deep breath, walk out the door slowly. Nobody was stopping you, right? Get it done. They just caused a freaking mess and a havoc.
So then you have to ask the question, Lewis, was it really about stealing or was it vandalizing?
I don't think either. I think it was entitlement. And I think that we've done this in all inner cities and in colleges. We've created this access of entitlement. So people think they can just access whatever they want. And then when we publicly create laws like, hey, steal up to $900 and we're not going to come after you, right? It creates it more. Now, what we have to understand, this is the intention of the globalist. This is all intentional construct. In fact, I would not be surprised if this was organized in the back by Soros, Black Lives Matter, something like that, and then, but they're not going to attach their name to it, obviously, but they can instigate this in the background and organize this. So, my feeling is that we have an institutional acceptance of this type of behavior, and it's really sad, but it's intentionally, it's to break down our society the way it is. It's to break down the family unit. This is all intentional. So I guarantee you that the Marxists are cheering this on in the background, because this is the type of stuff they want. They would have been really happy if some people, when they came out, because now they can serve all their masters at one time.
Well, obviously, if there's this many of them, the pack mentality, where's the seed? That's what we're looking for. Who's planting the seed of that idea that they can go ahead and do this? We defund the police. Let's remove the legal construct where you can't get arrested if it's less than $1,000 in theft. I know California, New York now has that. I don't know what it is in Tennessee, but it'll be kind of interesting to find out, because they're doing this with impunity. And was that the owner at the very end patting them on the back saying, go on now, go on now? Or one of the employees? Because the employees are not allowed to step in here in California. They have to stand back and just let it happen.
No idea.
Right?
We just know this was definitely planned. So,
well, it's planned to demolish the economy, right? So a lot of these businesses will go out of business because they can't sustain. How many times could you go to the insurance company and say, "Well, I've been robbed again"?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's part of the color revolution too. It's to break down social norms and recreate them in a completely different image. I mean, I'll take it to a whole nother level. If anybody's noticed, and I know right away when I say things like this, I don't watch TV for 30 years. Great. Okay. Just keep that to yourself for a second. I'm using this for example. In the last 10 years, if anybody happens to be watching the TV, if you're that one person that has to watch TV, you'll notice that the commercials have changed what's accepting. So a guy looking at another lady, right, longingly, is he doesn't even get a slap on the wrist. He gets his wife kind of giggles at it and like, oh, if he cheats on me, it is what it is. I'll find my own. Literally, you'll see that in commercials. And the worst part is they show a spouse or even a child that lies, and the parent or the spouse laughs it off like it's part of it, and then they promote their product. So they're intentionally creating this construct, right? And then, of course, everything, especially the teenagers. So all of this is intentional to break down social norms and recreate them, I think, in the devil's image, but that's a whole nother story.
Joey is asking in the chat, can the customers step in? If they do, they go to jail. And we've seen that over and over and over again when they step in and try to stop this, because you want to be the good Samaritan. We've been taught to do that, right? We don't let bad things go. We don't turn a blind eye to it. We step in, we stop it. And now we're the ones, if we were the ones to do that, we're the ones that get prosecuted.
Yep. It's true. Yep. I don't know that would stop me from stepping in, but because I may stop if 30 people are there, but I know if it's like 2, 3, or 4, I definitely would step in. But it is what it is. But the laws are not on the side of the Good Samaritans. I can tell you that.
Not at this point. They are not. We're living in an upside down world at the moment. Carol is saying that it feels like it was staged, and to some extent that's actually true. There had to be a group of people that all planned this and got together, and then it looked like, how come the cameraman may be part of the group? Why was this all filmed? It may have just been, they do that for, I guess in gangs, that's how you get your colors, your badges, right? By doing these kinds of things. Who knows?
Yep. And then they get the joy of getting their ass kicked, and when they get jumped into the gang, it's just a beautiful problem. Okay, now, so a couple things. She's clearly of that cloned coven of witches that I talk about all the time because they all look almost identical. And you what look at all these leaders, these governors, these senators, one of them running for president, uh, the New Zealand, and just look at all of them. They all look like they're from the same cloned coven. It's just really wacky. So that's my tinfoil hat moment on that. Now, in addition to this, though, is if you've noticed in Australia and Great Britain, they were coming after people that were on Facebook for hate speech because they disagreed with something. And she's trying to position it in a total false, actually a lie, that you cannot walk down the street in New York, right? Super liberal city, by the way, and show what religion that you're part of. That's an absolute downright lie. So she's creating a false narrative already in order for them to make a justification for what? So they can surveil you through social media and then come after you, which they're already doing in Australia, Great Britain, and some other places. So, yes, guys, New York is absolutely the new Australia for sure.
Isn't it stunning to see how quickly it shifted? Because New York wasn't. New York was the bastion of freedom. I mean, it was just like not quite as much as Las Vegas, certainly, but certainly in that vein where you could do whatever you want, be whatever you want, show your colors, do whatever you want to do. And, in just, 3 years now, this completely flipped to where they're going to be scanning your social media. I agree with her no, I don't agree with her. Not her, Nikki Haley. Well, that's the next clip. I'm ahead of myself here. But they're going to scan your social media to see what you're posting.
Yep.
And then they're going to make a decision on whether or not you're a security risk to the state or the city. That's insane. That's communism. I mean, that's one step away from the social credit score, right? They're already kind of building the foundation for it.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. This is all frog in the pot. Is what this is. Their goal is not to scan Facebook and give you a phone call if there's hate speech. The goal is to bring you to a completely controlled society, way past the social credit score. That's another step in order to their ultimate goal, and that's the culling of the society and only have a certain amount of people that they completely 100% control. So we're workers only, worker bees only. And that, by the way, that...
You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, no, I know what it was. You said, how did it happen in the last 3 years?
In 3 years, so quickly, yeah.
Right. So what it's very interesting to me is not even that it happened in the last 3 years. What's interesting to me is you have liberals that used to be all about make sure everything's free. And now liberals are the absolute least freedom-loving people on the planet right now. You have to credit the cabal for that. Yep. The fact that they took the people that claimed or felt like they loved freedom the most and turned them into these Nazis was just absolutely incredible. Good job, cabal. I mean, you did a great job on that. And that's what blows me away is if they just look at their ideology from the 90s compared to now, they go, what in the world? It doesn't look anything like it.
Yeah, they're the ones with the coexist bumper sticker on the back, and they're the ones who will throw eggs at the SUV that's parked next to them. You know what I mean? It's like, did you read your sticker? It says coexist, let people live, And it's just not like that. If you're either like us or you're the enemy. And there's no middle ground there.
I wonder how many of the coexist students right now are crossing out the Star of David in that bumper sticker.
Oh, is that why I saw magic marker on some? Okay, now I understand.
Yes.
I see it. So brother. So we have this clip from Nikki Haley that we stuck in at the last minute here.
Yes. That was another part of the coven, by the way.
Yeah, it is, and that's why it fits here.
You go, Robert. She just pisses me off all the time.
Couple of things here. If you want to build a social network and keep the spam down and keep the attacks down, the real name policy is an important aspect of this, right? So again, we go for security versus convenience, and it's hard to have both, right? So if you want the security, then it's inconvenient because you got to say who you are, you got to show your driver's license number, you got to yada yada yada. But when companies do that, they have a better platform. One of the challenges with Truth Social, no real name policy. You have a lot of crappy accounts on there you don't know anything about. I get friend requests all day long from 20-year-old Chinese women. These are not real accounts. These are not real women. These are bots. And boom, 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 all day long.
They love you a long time. I think they love you a long time.
They love me a long time. Yeah, they like my accent.
I don't think they're fake. They look at you, they're like, oh, I love you a long time.
So you look at it and you say, okay, so I get the real name policy, and it's less of a challenge. So Facebook has a real name policy. You just can't make up a fictitious name. They don't allow you to do that, and there's less spam. So I get that. But now we move the needle a little bit further, and now we say, well, now that we're going to take away your privacy, because Lewis, if you post something we don't like, we know exactly who you are. We've got your phone number, we've got your driver's license, we've got your home address. We're sending the SWAT team because you posted a meme that we don't agree with. So now it goes hyper. It goes in the other direction. Right?
Well, that's the purpose, though, because all the rules that come from the government are for that reason. For example, shouldn't it be your option whether you want to be on a social media that takes with names and doesn't take names? Shouldn't it be your option? Well, why would the government be involved in that in the least bit? If you want to be on a social media that takes your name, then go on one. If you don't want to be on one, great example. I just asked Lisa to take the names off the Remember Your Oath site, and we're getting a lot more traction now because people are afraid that they're putting their names on there and they're going to be a target. Okay, we weren't going to publish it, but I understand. So we made a decision, an independent legal decision, to remove the names on there right now. For now,
to remove the request for a first name,
requesting their first and last name.
So now it's just an email address that's required.
Just an email. So all you have to put an email address in there. That's our choice. Whether people like it or not, maybe they want to put it, doesn't matter. That's our choice. We're independent, but never, ever should a government regulation come involved in that, in my opinion, because that leads you down that dangerous rabbit hole.
And then you go and you say, well, who created Facebook? Was it really Zuckerberg or was it DARPA? Right?
We know it wasn't.
Well,
Zuckerberg.
So this is the thing, is like these social media websites may start out independent. Google started out as do no harm, and now they're probably the most evil company on the face of the earth, right? How did it get there? Well, what happened? They got too much data. They got too big. They got too powerful. And the government says, you guys want to continue to work? Yeah, you got to work with us.
Yep.
And that's what happens, and they get taken over. And the CIA is behind it. The FBI is behind a lot of this, and the rules that they're making. Because honestly, if you look at Facebook and you look at the censorship that's on there, and you think about it from a business perspective, this is not a business decision to alienate 50% of your audience. They've lost millions of people and countless millions in ad revenue. I have so many people who say, I'll never give them a dime again because of all the censorship. I'll never advertise there. This is not a business decision. So this had to be given to them as a directive from higher up.
Well, this is a great point, because we know Google intentionally suppresses patriot information.
Right.
Big time, right? And conservative information, anything positive in regards to that. They filter it out like crazy. And there's proof of that, guys, because you can take the exact same search request on Google, Brave, and Yandex, and you're going to see a completely different. You're going to see one that doesn't judge, and therefore everybody can get the information. And you'll see Google, who has their algorithms that actually ban you or shadow ban you at least. So it's interesting that you said that, though. There's a very small percentage of people, even liberals, that would complain about just getting all the information, which means that it is not a business decision. I'm supporting your argument at all, because you don't have your major, let's say your major market is all liberals, only a very small percentage would even recognize that the information's free flowing. It's just a search engine. I get what I get, right? Mm-hmm. But it is absolutely a control Marxist decision, not a business decision. But, great example. I pointed out great example. CNN spends over $2 million a day on their CNN product in just the United States. Yet, they're if they had real ad revenue, they couldn't even be close enough to get $2 million a day. But because they have fake ad revenue from Fortune 1000 companies that are part of the cabal, they can keep the ball rolling, right? So they're not a business. You can't look at them as a business at all. That's a DARPA run organization, which most of these things are, but we're finding that out for sure.
Well, yeah, and Google started out and their mantra was we're going to index the entire internet. And you know, it becomes, in like you say, you got that small market that doesn't even notice it's censored because everything they search for, yeah, of course, that's what I believe. It's in line with them, so they don't even recognize that there's censorship. However, if it were flipped and their side was censored,
Terrorist, he's on a watch list. So if you look in the bottom right hand corner, it says SSSS. Go figure, SS. Oh, what are the odds of that, right? And it's not for Secret Service. Anyways, it has 4 S's down. That's a target message. And these the gentleman's, the father of the son and the wife is a J6er, and suddenly they can't even go through airports without being not only I think physically abused and molested in my opinion, but they track them throughout the airport. They send on agents onto the planes to track them. And they, in my opinion, intentionally delay them so they constantly miss flights and have to repurchase tickets, right? Over and over and over again. This stuff is going on. I know because I was definitely a target at an airport. Not quite sure why I'm not now, but we'll see what happens in the, knock on wood. That went away a few months ago, but yeah, every time I went in the airport, it was frisk, ask questions, open up all the luggage, stand to the side every single time. Something's changed, not quite sure what, but it's clear that they're targeting individuals, and this is disgusting. On an infant, it says SSSS, which is code for quiet free, unless he's part of stopping it right now.
super genius, super genius. That's how he's going to do it. Yeah. So there was that video the other day where he was saying, as your commander in chief. And I didn't run the video, Lewis, because the lip sync was so far off, I wasn't sure. But now this is another clue to that, isn't it? Where he may actually be alluding to that again, that he is currently the commander in chief and he will not let our military go into that situation. Although, Biden's trying to push for it. I mean, how many times can they poke the bear? I mean, every day there's another, attempt at this to start this thing off.
That's right. And that same video you're referring to, I had a couple of people ask me to post it. Please post it. And I said, I can't post it because I can't find the original. The audio is way too off. And the word could have been cut where he's referring to the past, and they put it together, which I've seen a lot happen in the fake patriot movement, right?
Well, they grabbed the audio from another speech when he was president and was commander in chief. And it's very easy to just slip the audio in there, and you can see the lip sync is way off, and the whole video was off. It wasn't even just like a little bit.
Right, the whole thing. So our responsibility says we cannot put that out there. So we did not put that out there, and we got heat for it. But sorry, guys, we don't do fake stuff. I mean, we've done it accidentally, but we'll never do it on purpose. Right. If we have any doubt, we're either going to play it and tell you guys up front we have doubt about this, or we just, if it was so off like this one was, we just don't play it at all.
Yeah, and if you guys find the original, I mean, sure, send it our way. Please, please, please. Robert at renegademedia.tv or screwbiggov at protonmail.com. Yep. Protonmail.com, not protonfemale, not proton they.
I think it's protontheythem.com.
Oh, we've got a joke that's going to last for a long, long time. I love it. I love it.
So why don't you tell us about the United States Corporation? So, and I'm going to make it easy on you. There's a lot of information coming out exposing that the U.S. is a corporation, which we've known for many, many years. I've actually known that for about 20 years, believe it or not. But a lot of information is coming out lately about that, which leads me to believe it may be planted information. Like it's time for everybody to start talking about it and learn it. That's just a theory of mine. But I know you've dug into this a little bit. So what do you see happening with the corporation?
You and I are so much on the same page. It's scary sometimes. It's like, it's like you look at this, you say, okay, what triggered all those people to loot that store at one time? What triggered now everybody talking about the U.S. corporation, right? And I went into Yandex this morning and I was looking, USA corporation, is USA a corporation? Did a bunch of different searches and you get equal amounts of it is, it isn't, it is, it isn't. But if you think about it, it's not a commercial corporation is the way they were explaining it. It's a federal corporation, which runs by different rules. But it makes me wonder because we have a president. What does a corporation have? As a president. I'm the president of my corporation. Lewis, you're the president of your corporation, right? So when President's Day comes along, by the way, guys, these are the presidents I celebrate. Lewis, me, people like me who are presidents of our own organization. That's President's Day for me. That's what's important. So are we a corporation? I believe we are. Are we bankrupt? I believe we are. How do you not go bankrupt if you're that corporation? How do you generate
wealth that moved all the way in to the people that worked in the medical industry, and then they respent that money where you would normally spend the money in order to keep the economy going? It's not an accident that happened, but the wealth absolutely shifted. And this is a shift of wealth that people can't really usually track, because it wasn't just from to mid to poor or poor to mid to upper, and it didn't work that way. This was industry shift. So it's very hard to track it. So, but what happens with this is when they're moving money around like this, you guys have to understand they're not really moving real money. So they will print some money, but they also throw out what we call digital currency. Now, you don't think there's digital currency. There's been digital currency for ever since there was an internet and there were bank transfers. You think they're actually transferring
digital currency?
Right. They're not transferring the cash over, they're transferring it digitally. Yeah. And what happens is the digital currency takes a long time before they actually have to physically fund it. In fact, even 10 years ago, it was only a tenth of the money physically ever got funded when currency would move from bank to bank to bank into loans, right? It's probably a lot less than 10% now because of how fast things travel. It could be 1%. So you have to understand, guys, not only is it's only 1% of the money, they don't physically fund it anyways, right? So it's very easy to put this false economy going on. But there's some things that happen that they cannot prevent, because the truth always comes out, and the truth comes out through supply and demand. And that's why we continue to have inflation and shrinkflation. And that's what's going to take down the economy. And I hate to say it, guys, just be prepared. Be in silver or something else. In fact, there may be something that Robert and I are introducing in the near future that I'm investigating right now, which will help everybody. But the key is be somewhere except in your fiat dollar, because that's going to be a very scary place to be when the real estate market and the stock market and the banks crash. And that's inevitable. All the markers are there. They've held that up by this fake moving around of money, but the chickens are coming home to roost, and really, really quick.
They are, and things are shifting. And I was reading a newsletter by one of the intuitive people that we follow and use as a personal coach, and she was alluding to exactly the same thing. It's funny how they're all on the same page, right? Everyone's predicting the same thing: financial crash, tough period of time. We come out on the other side, new currency, new whatever, but there's going to be this period of time where it's going to be really tough. And I think it's like across the board now, everyone's feeling that way. So it's not just like one intuitive, or it's people who even aren't intuitive. They're just looking at the numbers. People who are specifically into the economy and looking at just the signs that are there, and they go, "This thing's going to crash. There's no way it can be propped up." Boeing just announced today that they're going to expand because they need more missiles. They're running out of missiles, so they need to expand their capacity so they can build more missiles. So that's a spin.
It goes pretty deep into some stuff on there too. So that's going to be released tomorrow. And that's fantastic. But in the meantime, if you want to make sure that you just get the best food or supplements, I haven't found anything cleaner or or more responsive for our furries. Not those furries, guys. Just go to sbgpets.com, sbgpets.com, and I think you'll be absolutely thrilled with the results all of your animals will get. And if you consider your husband an animal, feed him some of the mush pony cookies too. I think he'll be fine.
Love it. Love it. All righty. I just ordered some cat food for our cat who was not doing well. He actually stopped eating on Saturday and has spent almost a day and a half now, almost 2 days now, not eating. He started eating last night a little bit. He's starting to come around, but I can't wait to get my hands on this because anything you can do for the fur babies to keep them healthy is important. And he's 14, 15 years old. We don't actually know because he was a stray that just kind of knocked on the door where he got the name Thumper from, thumping on the door. We opened the door and started feeding him, and he never left. So we don't know how old he was.
It's so awesome that he just knocked on your door, though.
Yeah.
And he is a smart cat too. I've met him a couple times. Yeah. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he is pretty awesome, and he knows to wake me up exactly 6:45 because he knows that's when the alarm goes off, and he jumps on top of me at 6:44 and like, time to eat. Let's go. Get up.
I'm going to beat the alarm.
He does, usually by a minute or two. It's like he's so good at it.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So in other news, can you believe that
for CT?
Well, I guess Nancy Pelosi and Governor Newsom, they cleaned the city up to make it look good for the Chinese dictators, but at the same, they couldn't clean up the crime. Love this. Well, all I can say is, hey, there you go.
Yeah. Get what you sow, right? You reap what you sow, and in this case, is we've defunded the police here in California, and we've told them they can't do this and they can't do that, and they can't chase crime, and they can't do what Giuliani did. The stop and frisk was a very effective policy in New York when he was mayor, where they would stop people who looked suspicious. And they would frisk them and just make sure. And they stopped a lot of crime. I think they call it the broken window strategy. That, it's like if a kid's going to break a window when he's young, later on he's going to break into a bank, and it was kind of like we know people are on that path. And they would kind of preemptively go after them or keep an eye on them at least. So, and here you don't. You're saying, you know what? We got all these illegals. Just let them go. Let them go. We got people in jail. Open the jails.
Yeah.
So now they're going after him. So we got to support these people. And make sure that their message doesn't get lost just because they lock him up. We don't want that work to go to waste, and they're going to try to bury it, obviously.
Well, yeah, the other reason why they're locking it up is to intimidate other people to not to put out the message.
Well, look at what January 6th did.
Don't even get me started.
People are intimidated.
I'm going to do a film on that great psyop called J6. So one of the best headlines ever is in Bloomberg, and it says, the Disney's grooming syndicates, the Marvel, is now a certified disaster. So they have this movie out called Marvels, and the stars are all three ladies, which I have no problem with whatsoever, but very interesting. It's the lowest grossing Marvel film ever for the first weekend by far. And what's very interesting about this is it's the 33rd movie. There's that number again, that 33. So they're very, very upset. But I think what it comes down to is clearly America hates women. What do you think? Oh, no, that's not it? Oh, okay.
I don't think we're going that way. Look, we've already talked about sex on the show.
Right, right.
Buckshot is telling us we need to rename the show WTF and News.
I saw that. It feels like it, right?
Certainly feels like it.
The reality is, no, America doesn't hate women, but that's going to be the liberal bullshit that comes from this. What it comes down to is the quality of Marvel movies is dropping, right? People aren't spending as much money right now because there is an economy that's an issue that's hitting home right now. And when these studios force their narrative on you, like if naturally they had three women starring in a movie, that wouldn't be a problem whatsoever as these superheroes. But what happens, they have to force it, right? So their next movie it'll definitely be a gay couple, will have superhero powers, right? Be Marvel's number number 35. It's just, so this is what people get frustrated with, is they're just like, oh my God, quit, just stop with it, pushing the narrative, let it happen
Yeah,
naturally.
let it
And,
unfold. Yeah.
and so that's just my thought process on that. It's not, it's a nothing burger.
I don't know. I've never watched a Marvel movie. I think I was dragged to one time. It's just not my genre at all. So,
Yeah. And I'm guilty. I like them.
okay.
Yeah. I like them. I don't like the DC movies as much because I never like very dark movies where I can't see everything going on, and that's kind of the DC just makes it all black. You're like, oh, geez, what's going on here? But that's me. Um, so let's play a video. Well, this is this I think is actually could be real. So let's play it. This is
Yeah.
this guy got punched in the kidneys, right? Because he was a proponent to vote McCarthy out. Most likely, that's the reason why.
It's getting
It,
physical up there on
it's
Capitol Hill.
crazy, and we have another video that goes with that later today too. That shows this is getting wacky. Now, are they all distractions? I think it could be both. But what happens is, I think everything's falling apart. It's
Bingo.
just falling apart.
Bingo.
But notice in the video, how much money did he say Kevin McCarthy's security detail is?
That's 75 million or some crazy
No,
number.
17.
17 million. Okay, got the 17.
Oh, again with the 17
There we
million.
go.
Ah,
Yeah.
go figure with this. How does that work exactly?
Yeah.
Wow, what a bunch of wackos. So I have a really interesting question. We're going to go right to the Middle East. So I want to have an open discussion about with you. Is Hamas hiding their baddies in hospitals?
What do you think?
I think it's not as much as we're being told, because we're wholesale in support of Israel and they can do no wrong. But I do think Hamas does do that. And I do not believe the Palestinian people do that or approve of that. They're not telling you the truth. And I say they, and I say everybody in Congress, everybody in Senate, and all media are not telling you the truth.
They
So I
can't.
know I know I threw a lot out there, but
They
what do you
can't.
say?
They can't tell you the truth. That would destroy the narrative. So you're looking at this conflict, and there's actually four groups, right? It's not two groups. We're told it's two. It's actually four. And we don't have to look any further than the United States to understand that there are multiple factions within the United States. Does the government represent the will of the people in this country, yes or no? Clearly
No,
not.
no.
81 million people did not vote for Joe Biden. Didn't happen. He was installed. His values and the things that that regime is doing do not represent the will of the people. So if you hate America, do you hate the American people, who are mostly kind, generous, loving, patriotic, right? Or is it the leadership that you hate? And you have to realize it's like this is the game that's going on in Palestine. It's the game that's going on in Israel. It's the game in Ukraine. They're being forced into it. They have a corrupt Nazi leadership that's dragging them into this. The people of Russia, are they involved in that? Well, no, it's the leaders that are doing whatever they're doing. You could say Russia's on the good side, the bad side. It's so confusing sometimes, it's hard to know, right? So we try to make everything black and white. The cabal wants us to see everything as black and white because it's easier. But if you notice the 64 million colors in between solid black and pure white that are there, how do you ignore all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't. So there's a million different permutations of what could be going on. We're getting a little piece of it. You talk to people in Israel, and they're saying, you know what? Our best friends are Muslims. What? I thought you guys hated them. No, they're great people. They're fine. We don't have any problems with them. They're all in our schools. We shop together. We hang out together. What now? That doesn't make any sense. That's not the narrative. But when you talk to the people in the street, you really find out what's happening there. The narrative explodes. That's why it's being held back. That's number one reason I believe there's so much censorship online. Because citizen journalists like us, we got these little phones and we've got these cameras, these microphones, we could put the real story up there. And they need to stop it because their narrative would fall apart. double-edged sword of the internet, right? Really good for some things, but also really bad at the same time because there's people who can control it and skew the narrative. So where do you fall on this? Left, right, center? I don't know. Truth is, there's more information that we don't have than what we do have. And I'm not going to make a decision on a menu only seeing page 1. I want to see the whole menu. I want to see the drink menu, even though I don't drink. I want to see it all. What are my choices? And then I'll make a decision. But right now, I've only got page 1. Right?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. In fact, I created this image about 2 years ago, and I think it best illustrates what is really going on. So Robert just said it. It's not all black and white. So the satanic Freemasons need you to believe that everything is black and white, but it's not. It's a division of duality that's going on. So Robert just said it. There's a full color spectrum that is completely avoided in most conversations, and that's the goal. That's the goal of Congress, Senate, all politicians, and that's the goal of the media and the control construct of this cabal. It's a Freemason construct. They need the duality. They need the left or the right. They need the black or the white. That's it. The red, the blue, everything is like that. But the reality is, the truth is all those hues of color in the middle. But you either need to hate or love something. That's not real life. And I don't believe that's what God intended either. And that's why they warp it so much.
Exactly right. You know, if they make it black and white, it's easier to control it. If there's all these permutations, more variables, you know, we talk about that with the gourd business, right? There's just too darn many variables and it's unpredictable. And what you want to do in business is control the variables as much as possible so that there are fewer surprises. And
right.
in the media and the narrative, it's the same thing. They don't want a lot of variables in it because if there are, they can't control it. It's easier when there's only one story, right?
So what happens is, and you're right, so what happens is, when they want to control it, everything's black and white. When they want you to be confused, that's when they use all the hues of colors. Yeah. So great example, in Christianity, there's 40,000 different denominations because they want you to be confused about your sex plus blah, 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 blah. They want you to be confused about that, right? But when they want you completely controlled, you have two choices. You have black and white. So they use the hue against you, and they use the black and white against you. They're freaking genius. You need to get in the minds of these people because it's amazing what they've created. I don't like it though, so that's why I believe we always have to figure out the way these hoodlums think if we're going to take them down. And
we are going to take them down. So the message that you should walk away from any of our shows with is we will win. What we don't know is we can't give you the timing. We will win. At the end of the day, we got this. But we got to keep fighting. We can't sit back on our butts either. RememberYourOath.com. Go there. Sign up if you haven't done so already.
Yes. And I just have a conversation with the app builder this morning, and of course, like normally, Lewis gave him more work to do instead of just launching it. It'll get there, guys. You know what it comes down to is we don't have a massive support staff to handle this. So I'm trying to work out the bugs before they get out so we don't get hammered by them. Let's play that video real quick on Foursquares. I need to step away for just a second.